everyone. We are live here in Alameda at what is known as this is a house that gets scarier and scarier as the sun goes down. But as the gentleman who lives here will tell you, this is Dan Balsam. Come and join me, Dan. The scariest thing here is that all this stuff comes from the headlines.
That's right. The scariest monsters we can think of are those in Washington, D.C. and the Trump administration right now.
Now, to be clear to the folks who are watching us on their phones and their laptops, this comes from a specific point of view.
I am unabashedly liberal.
This is not a journalistic interpretation. This is an opinion.
Absolutely. There's no pretense of being fair and balanced. This is a political statement of our opinions.
Now, how did this start?
My wife and I did this last year. It was a little smaller. We had fewer gravestones for people that have left the administration. And we had some props around. We started putting on some wigs and some glasses and some "Hello, my name is" name tags, and it all just kind of grew. We have new content this year, which I can introduce you to shortly.
And so, first of all, the star of the show is this, shall we call him a gentleman over here?
We can call him that, I guess.
And why did you choose to portray President Trump, say, as Satan?
Is there anyone better to portray him as? I mean, around the corner, we've got Sean Hannity as Frankenstein. We've got some werewolves. We've got Mnuchin as sort of a well-dressed vampire. But, you know, the devil, Satan, really embodies, that's Trump. That has to be Trump.
And so where should we start looking at this display? I mean, first of all, as we said, this gets scarier as night falls.
It does. Let's start with a shot of the very, very Trump Halloween with a very flattering photo of our president. And I guess then we can move down to the east end of the property and work our way back.
That is indeed a very flattering photo of Mr. Trump. And you say that this is part deux?
Part one was last year, so this is part deux.
So what was it that made you aware that there was enough interest in this to do it a second time? Because this is, to be fair, this is an extreme effort to put this together. It
takes some effort, yeah. I mean, there are some haters out there, but for the most part, everyone really seems to. I would say this is an LOL cry. People think it's funny. People also think it's very sad at the same time.
Okay.
So response was pretty good.
So let's start down at the other end, and you start with some minor figures in the administration, I understand.
Sure. All right, we're going to come down here to start.
So first of all, you're taking this right to the property line.
Almost. We're almost there. Our house is on a corner lot, so we actually have a lot more street frontage than most other houses, which is what makes this whole thing work.
And you were doing Halloween even before Trump.
We had some random props and stuff, but there wasn't really a theme. When Trump won the election last year, then it gave us the idea to, hey, we can all of a sudden we can make this work. We can take all of our disparate pieces, wrap it up in a theme, and scare the hell out of everyone.
Somebody would like to know they'd like directions on how to make Trump jack-o'-lanterns.
Well, it's orange. You're starting off from a really good place. After that, draw an ugly face on it, and there you go. There's Trump.
Is there a specific source for the hair?
Amazon, any costume store, Spirit, you can find Trump wigs. Not difficult to find.
Okay, just put that on your jack-o'-lantern.
Although it is nothing, it's artificial. There's nothing in nature that looks just like that.
Now we do have another jack-o'-lantern here. Who are these fine
so
characters?
right here we have Sonny Perdue, and we have David Pecker from the National Enquirer. Not really part of the administration, but also helped in the cover-up of the payments to Karen McDougal. We have a skeleton here just sort of exemplifying the death of everything. The economy, environment, democracy, civil rights, stable world order, healthcare, science, facts. I could go on. Moving down, we have Mick Mulvaney, who's destroying consumer protection rights. Yay!
And you've gone with memes this year. I believe last year you had quotes.
Yeah, last year we had some quotes, things that the people really said. And they were funny, but the memes lets us take again, we're not really trying to be fair and balanced. The memes takes the humor and the snark to a whole nother level. Judge Jeanine Pirro over here. And we have the political career of Susan Collins in the coffin after she went and voted for Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh has given you so much to work with this year, hasn't he?
He really has. He's been such a polarizing figure, and the timing was great from a Halloween decoration perspective. Sucks from a civil rights perspective, but
We've got 2 thank yous so far for the jack-o'-lantern instructions.
You're welcome, people. Steve Bannon, Most of the departed members of the administration have gravestones, as we'll see shortly, but Saturday Night Live did such a great job portraying Bannon as death, we just had to bring him back in his full glory. A little disciple Stephen Miller next to him looks kind of the same, does the same thing, a little bit shorter. We've got some tombstones here for the departed, Rob Porter and Andrew McCabe. So some of the departed are the good guys, like McCabe. Most are bad guys, because that's who Trump surrounds himself with. We do have a few good guy tombstones mixed in.
And then you've got this zombie who's being electrocuted.
Right. This is Rick Perry. If Rick Perry is the answer, how stupid is the question? And there's Rick Perry being electrocuted.
Oh, goodness.
So over here we have Joe Manchin, who betrayed the Democratic Party by supporting Kavanaugh. And Devin Nunes, voted most likely to commit treason by his classmates. Moving along.
You've got a much taller clown here.
Right. The tall clown is Giuliani, and he wasn't here at all last year. And it's sad because the guy once was a sharp prosecutor and took down the mob, and now he has literally turned into a clown. So, place of honor in the display this year.
A lot of blood on his outfit.
Yep. Rex Tillerson departed. Sebastian Gorka departed. Sally Yates over there, one of the good guys, departed. Moving along, Wilbur Ross, who defrauded his clients out of $120 million, allegedly. The little guy in the swing is Jeff Sessions.
And why did you choose to portray Jeff Sessions as this little baby skeleton swinging from a tree?
Well, Saturday Night Live did him as a possum, but it's harder to get that costume. Last year we had him as a little tiny rat with a white hood, but we had a better use for the rat this year, which we'll get to shortly. Moving along, here's Lindsey Graham having the hissy fit that he gave during the Kavanaugh hearings.
He looks very upset.
Shocking.
Good work.
Thank you.
Your neighbors have been responding very well to this.
The neighbors tend to like it. Over here, one of the horrors of the Trump administration is Kirstjen Nielsen and a little brown baby in a cage.
And that is a very, that's a very recent and very touchy topic right there.
It is. It's one of these things that, just makes you want to cry, and there's just nothing that you can do about it. The best we can do is, include her in the display as just one more example of the horrors of this administration.
When would you say that people come out to see this the most? We've seen people walking by this entire time.
Yeah, we get like an after-school crowd, like between 3 and 4, and then we get an early evening crowd. Maybe like the post-dinner walk, walking the dog around this time. Ben Carson is over here, the former brain surgeon who no longer has a head.
Yeah, I was going to say he's probably not doing much thinking with his head down there in his hand.
Questionable whether he ever did any real thinking. Apparently a great surgeon, but the fact that you own a house doesn't mean that you get to be Secretary of Housing. Kelly Conway, who coined the phrase alternative facts. Let's see if we can get her to spin around. Here she goes. Hang on a second. There's Kellyanne. Looks just like her. Over here we have the most punchable face in America, and that's Ted Cruz.
Ted is not happy right now, is he?
No, he's not. Up there we have your competitive network, Fox and Friends, stirring up nasty stuff every morning.
And somebody on Periscope did mention that they believe that you guys watch a lot of cable news.
You think? My wife has a girl crush on Rachel Maddow. We have the Koch brothers over here, and up above is Bob Mercer spinning his web of evil over everything.
Let's make sure we get... Now, what kind of spider is Bob Mercer?
I don't know if that's supposed to be a tarantula or not. We'll just say it is. Also on the porch, we have Paul Ryan, Tucker Carlson, and one of my favorite parts of the display this year, Stormy Daniels, the only person Trump ever hired who was actually qualified to do the job.
And is that your editorialization, or is that something that's been said widely all over the place?
That meme circulated on the web.
And you guys, the internet's done a lot of your work for you here because there's just so much being said about these people.
It does. There's a few memes my wife and I made ourselves, but for the most part, this stuff is just out there, and we just have to collect it. Bob Mueller as, half in a suit and half Superman. His meme says, "I chuckled when I read your tweet this morning. Then I marked it as Exhibit 1,000,004.
No Hate 77 says it's super spooky.
Thank you. One of the highlights of the year is right here. This is Brett Kavanaugh. He's got his Beach Week calendar from 1982. Still has it. He's got the beer hat. I like beer. The Georgetown Prep logo that my wife found, and the Yale banner. His feet are propped up on a keg. And the meme, this one's an original Cathy meme, my wife. It's not attempted rape, it's just a cuddle with a struggle.
And your wife had a major part in putting this together, you said.
Absolutely. I've been really busy with work lately. This year, this is more her than me out here.
So he's got his calendar, and he's got his keg. And he didn't even bother to put his shoes on. Because
Well,
I guess when you're sitting on the Supreme Court in that black robe, nobody sees your feet.
no one sees you, you're below the bench. Moving along, Kanye West, the new Secretary of Mental Health after his recent breakdown. And then we have Donald Trumpery himself, paper towels to commemorate his humanitarian aid for Puerto Rico. This rat was, the body was Sessions last year, but now Michael Cohen as a rat just seemed really appropriate.
And there are the paper towels.
There are the paper towels. A couple lesser figures, Alexander Acosta, Labor, Elaine Chao, Transportation, Alex Azar.
And over here, swinging on the tree, who do we have?
This is Betsy DeVos, the swamp hag, one of my least favorite people in the administration. She rates two memes. The first one here says, one of these pictures is of a dramatic threat to public school students. The other is of a bear. And that comes from her line saying that we should have guns in schools because bears. Over on this side, we have, what's her name, from Harry Potter. The last time an ignorant, sanctimonious liar was appointed to a major educational post, we needed centaurs to get rid of her. Can't remember the character's name from Harry Potter, from the Ministry of Education. Back over here, we have our duly appointed liar-in-chief, Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
We were saying that is not a particularly flattering photo you chose of Miss Sanders.
There aren't any.
There she is in all her skeletal glory.
That's right. Down here, you got to admit, this looks just like Mike Pence.
I mean, I see the resemblance.
It's uncanny. Up above on the wall, we have Mike Flynn behind bars, where he belongs. And then
somebody says, we haven't heard from Cohen in a while. I wonder what he's telling Mueller.
I don't know. Wish I knew. The three Trump spawn over here, well, the three older ones.
As the three-headed dog.
As a three-headed dog. Blonde wig on Ivanka. And right next to them is Jared, the 36-year-old product of nepotism.
Looking really good there. Little gaunt there in the chin, I would say.
A little bit. And this is actually the costume from last year. If you remember, he went, I forget if it was Iraq or Afghanistan, but he went in there wearing the flak jacket over a blazer. So we just kept the costume on the skeleton from last year. Melania's over here, playing off her jacket. Shame, shame, shame.
Which, of course, to those who have not been following the news, is a reference to something that she actually did wear.
Right. She wore the jacket to go visit the kids, and it said, I don't really care, do you, or something like that.
And what is the meme that she's holding?
Oh, she's got two. One says, the exact moment you realize it's not worth the money. And her other one, since she stole Melania's speech, Michelle Obama's speech, this one says, damn, Melania Trump steals everything. And that's the Jerry Seinfeld puffy shirt.
Our good friend Jerry, who must just be writing all sorts of material about what's going on right now.
Probably. Moving along, we have just collectively the men of the Senate Judiciary Committee over here. We didn't have enough props or space to give them all the due honor they deserved.
Pete Yousefi says this is awesome.
Thank you. A couple more of the departed over here. Carter Page, Anthony Scaramucci, James Comey, and Reince Priebus. The joke with Scaramucci was that if you bought a gallon of milk before he got his job, the milk would still be good after he lost his job. My wife actually had a great tweet. My wife tweeted to him that he looked like date rape in his suit, and he quoted her when he was on CNN. So that was awesome.
I wouldn't necessarily think that would be the most flattering thing for him to quote.
It happened. Go figure. Maria Butina over here, NRA shirt and a gun. Her meme says, sexy Russian seeks Republican politician that likes Vladimir Putin and walks on the beach.
And speaking of Mr. Putin.
And speaking of Putin, here's Putin right here, bare-chested on a horse, and he admires a woman who kills her own clothing. And along the subject of fascists, we have Kim Jong-un down here, who just recently Trump declared he's in love with Kim Jong-un. But the quote didn't really work because Trump's over there and Kim Jong-un is over here.
And so instead you went with?
I'm a little despot, short and stout. Behind we have Mitch McConnell, treason turtle. An awful lot of what has happened in the last couple years can be directly traced to him.
To Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell, not least of which is blocking even getting a Senate hearing for Merrick Garland when Obama nominated him for the Supreme Court.
And I mean, let's talk anatomy for a second. Do turtles have horns?
No, we're taking some liberties, anatomically speaking.
Okay.
Down below, Larry Kudlow, another genius behind the Trump economic policies. We miss Peter Navarro over on the other side, another economist that absolutely no other economist takes seriously. Down here, we have more dearly departed, Omarosa, Sean Spicer, and Hope Hicks. And since Trump wants to jail the media, here's CNN in a cage. Up here, we have departing White House counsel, Don McGahn, cleanup on aisle Trump.
You're going to have nightmares, I think.
And behind us, we have a bunch of interchangeable evil congressional Republicans. They're all kind of the same, which was the point of this little display.
Who's that making all that noise over there?
That is your competitive network, Fox's Laura Ingraham.
You didn't really hold back when it came to Fox News, did you?
Fox is state-sponsored propaganda. We have the well-dressed Steve Mnuchin back there.
Looking quite dapper, I would say.
And speaking of Fox, here's Sean Hannity. Thanks for joining me here on Fox, where I'll be lying my ass off for the next hour. And behind on the wall, we have Papadopoulos and Alex Vanderswan, a couple more that on their way to jail or gone to jail. I think Papadopoulos got a whopping 8 days, so yay.
And you have some new stuff this year.
Yep. Gary Cohn, H.R. McMaster, Corey Lewandowski, all departed
Hey,
since
it's
last
Michael
year.
Crapo's first day on Periscope. Hey, Michael.
Up here, so this UFO up here was a prop from Spirit that we picked up last year for $20, and we didn't really know what we were going to do with it, but it was a cool prop. And then Trump hands us Space Force. So over here we have the alien and the UFO, and that's why we need Space Force to protect against the evil aliens. And the meme here, one of my favorite memes out here, Space Force, because the wall won't keep out the space Mexicans. And speaking of the wall, that's over here. This is another prop from Spirit.
Somebody just said the funniest thing would be an actual Trump supporter standing out here.
Over here we have the 30-foot wall and the 35-foot ladder.
And that wall came to you by an interesting story, you said.
That's another prop from the Spirit store. It was not actually for sale. It was a store prop that we bought. We didn't really know what we were going to do with it. Oh, actually, I take that back. As last year, we did know what we were going to do with it, and then the wall was there, and we got to buy it and use it this year.
But you got the flying saucer, having no clue what you were going to use it for.
No, Space Force hadn't been announced as of November 1st last year. That's newer. Over here, we have Manafort in jail, John Kelly and Ryan Zinke. And at the very end here, we've got a couple more of the departed. Tom Price, Walter Schaub. It's another good guy departed. He was head of White House ethics department until he couldn't deal with them anymore. And Nikki Haley, very recently departed as a representative to the United Nations. And finally, at the very end here, we have warmonger John Bolton with his meme, waking up from a terrifying nightmare of world peace. And finally, Franklin Graham, because we needed a representative from the hypocritical evangelical community.
Now, do you spend all year planning for this?
Not specifically. I mean, it's not like we start November 1st just collecting memes, but we remember the funnier stuff that was out there. And about a month ago, we started really figuring out, do we have enough props for everyone? What do we need accessory-wise? Wigs and glasses to make it work. And then it took a couple solid days getting everything set up, and then over the course of a week with a little more and rigging lights and everything.
And so do you start from one end and work toward the other, or do you kind of like you get the main characters up there and then you fill in the supporting characters?
Pretty much that way. And this year, because we have a lot more departed and we have a lot more characters, we end up using like these trees here, which I don't think were part of the show last year. But yeah, I mean, Trump and Huckabee Sanders have a place right by the front. Putin, you know, because he's looking very, you know, very strong here and powerful on the horse. He gets sort of the prime corner position. And of course, Putin is an important part of the Trump administration. Yeah, then we just fill everything else in. On Halloween night, we're going to be passing out Trump University diplomas along with candy, which are worth literally about the paper they're printed on. And we plan to have some Randy Rainbow videos playing up in the windows above the porch.
Somebody wants to know if you're collecting donations.
Not necessary.
Not necessary, he says. So, I mean, and this is what people could just be walking by. They could be on their way home or on their way to school, and they'll see all of this spread out across the corner here.
Yeah, I mean, some people have sought us out, and we got a lot of people just walking by and wondering what, you know, nightmare horror they stumbled into, and that's our current state of affairs.
Do people know that this is a political Halloween display? Do they go out of their way to come here? Are they coming out of their way more this year than last year?
Some people are definitely making an effort to, I can't quantify that, and we definitely have people that are deliberately coming by to see it. And not just our friends that we told to come see.
So are you already thinking about what you're going to be doing next year?
Please, God, let there be a blue wave and let him get impeached. We haven't really thought ahead to next year yet.
No Hate 77 asks if you've ever gotten vandalism by Trump supporters.
We have not. Hopefully it stays that way.
You did point out that unlike Trump University, your property is under video surveillance.
It is. We have some cameras up.
And Lonnie123 says, yup, Trump's cabinet. So we're taking one last walk here back past this display that gets more frightening as the sun goes down. It is almost completely dark out here in Alameda. And there is...
That's Rudy Giuliani again.
And we'll go ahead and walk back to the tripod because my arm is getting tired. And somebody says, okay, there it is. And we'll set the camera down and bid a very fond good night to the folks who've been so kind as to join us. And somebody just saw the Make America Great Again hat on Mr. Trump over here.
It really pained us to go and spend money to buy that. I mean, it was an important part of the set, of the props, but it just pained us to have to spend money on that because somehow some of that money is probably getting back to him.
And No Hate 77 says, thank you for the hilarious display. Well, thank you for tuning in. And we're going to go ahead and end the broadcast and say goodnight. And I hope that you guys have a very happy and spooky Halloween.